What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Spectator Mode Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Mitchell, in the middle of my buddy Scott, and the guy is he on my right? He's on my whatever.
The other side of me.
See, so Andrew has not been on the show for quite some time, which I'm glad to see his face. I don't really get to talk and see him, so it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, likewise. I make a cameo appearance every now and then. I like
every now and then. He's still around, guys, and he's actually doing a lot of Souls-like stuff that I didn't know that he was into that like that. So we'll talk about that later. As you can see, I'm being jumped because both of these nerds, geeks, or RPG enthusiasts
had to do it.
I mean, anybody who's on a gaming site is automatically a nerd and or a geek. So just leave it as it is. As you guys know, at the beginning of every show, we talk about the games we've played and or stuff we have watched. I usually try to go first because Scott has a bazillion things. So, and the time this show comes out, the thing I'm going to be talking about real quick will be out, so I won't get in trouble. So what have I been watching?
Did you see Captain America yet?
I did see Captain America. I have mixed reactions with the movie. Yeah. I loved every action part, though. The action in the movie was amazing.
Yeah.
If you just care about action, then go watch it. It's fantastic. Yep. It's not Steve Rogers Captain America, to be honest. I think he does a lot more than Steve Rogers did. He's all over the place. So there's that. Sakamoto Days. I've been watching a lot of that. I love Sakamoto Days. That's a fantastic show. Hitman, who's this, you can't say out of shape guy because he's just catching bullets and knocking people out. So he
has a dad bod.
Yeah. And then the one episode where he just, I'm not fat anymore. Like, how did you do that, guy? So I turn my phone down. Somebody calls me. So Sacramento Days, definitely watch that. That's a fun show. And for the last week and a half, I've been playing nothing but Monster Hunter. I don't say Monster Worlds, Monster Hunter Wilds. And I have to tell you right now, this game is getting a 5 from me. This is a perfect game in terms of Monster Hunter. It's taken everything that Wilds did, everything that Rise did, everything that Monster Hunter for Ultimate did, everything. They've taken all the comments, the feedbacks that people have had, and have created this amazing experience that if you like Monster Hunter or if you've never played Monster Hunter and you just want to jump in, it's perfect. I've tried to find a flaw in this game, and outside of the performance for the PC, game is a match. And if you don't care about the performance, you won't care, because even though it drops down like 50 at times, and depending on what setting you're playing at and or no upscaler, it doesn't really affect the gameplay. So it's a fantastic game. Combat's fantastic. Storyline's pretty cool. The locations are amazing. The weather, how the weather rolls in depending on where you're at, or it's just an amazing game. I've been here all day talking about it. It is an amazing game. If you like Monster Hunter, just go get it, pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed whatsoever. I also did play the Elden Ring Nightreign closed network test with Andrew. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that. I got some mixed feelings about that. I have an article about that. You should go check that out, where I was being honest about my feelings about the game. But other than that, no, Monster Hunter has been my last week and a half. So I'm gonna let Andrew go. You still got to go last, Scott. Sorry, bud.
Sorry, Scott. One day. In terms of watching things. So a week ago, I saw Paddington 3, Paddington Peru.
Nice.
I'm not like a huge MCU person, so for me, it's like Paddington is my.
That's my Paddington universe. Is the MCU.
The PCU, the Paddington Cinematic Universe. And people had said like it's a different director than the first two, so they said, it's not as good. And it's one of those things where it's like maybe it's not as good as the first two, but like the first two are amazing, and this one is great. And like when a movie's just great, it's still great. So
it's like a 9.5 out of 10 when it goes to 2 10 out of 10s.
Yeah, exactly.
And my wife dragged me to it. She loved it. I'll be honest. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was just, maybe it was just the day. Maybe I was tired, but I fell asleep. I literally did.
Hey, but did you have a good nap?
I think when he was in the jungle and he thought it was his grandmom calling him, and he got to the wall and he realized it wasn't him or her, and the guy that was chasing him finally called to him. That's where I don't remember anything after that.
Okay.
That was it.
Well, anyway, enjoyed that. And then from getting that ticket, I got one of like the 30-day trials to Apple TV. They like to hand those out like candy every now and then. So I
Man.
watched this show called the completely made up adventures of Dick Turpin. And it's with Noel Fielding from the Mighty Boosh. So if you like the Mighty Boosh, I don't know if either of you have seen it, but very bizarre, absurd comedy. It's kind of in that vein. Also something that I'd heard kind of mixed things about, but I think just a fun. It's only 6 episodes. It's short. It's funny. It's goofy. And then in terms of playing, I I went back. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get the platinum for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh no.
I do not have the platinum for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I tried.
I'm 81% there.
Not bad.
Not too shabby. I have like 10 Johnny more things to go, and I get it. But I was like, I'm going to take a break on this for a bit, and I went back to Baldur's Gate 3. I'm in Act 3,
Ooh.
and it's such a long game that I take a break. But like,
it's very long.
But it's a great game. I am loving it.
Yeah.
And then also did the Nightreign test, and also had mixed feelings. I'm looking forward to the full game. I'm curious to see how that goes, but I also had mixed feelings about the test.
All right, Scott, what you got, bud?
Alrighty, I'll try not to have. I mean, I don't think I have too much. So I've been spending a lot of time. Basically, when the state of play happened and they shadow dropped Warriors Abyss, I've been playing so much of that. Because that is honestly like my 2 biggest things is like the roguelike and the Muso games. So I've been basically loving all of my time with that. I've put in so much time. I've unlocked almost absolutely everything. The game itself, I mean, it is only like a $20 game, which is also really nice and handy. I think it's a high recommendation, but it's really fun. It has basically the same reused assets though as like Warriors Orochi 4. Which is just basically the Samurai Warriors 4 and the Dynasty Warriors 8 games. So they don't have like the newer warrior systems in place. It's still the older ones. But I feel like it translates well in this scenario because a lot of the newer ones are a lot more catered to those specific games. Like Origins and 9 are a lot different. And they're all very different based on what like their type of game is. The other game that I've been playing is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Still trying to make my way through that, but it is a very long game.
I think it's about as long as Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, it's another 100-hour experience.
Have you played it on your Steam Deck or your ROG Ally?
I haven't.
I thought you did. Does it play good on that?
I haven't played Kingdom Come on the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally. I've just been wanting to do it with keyboard and mouse because that's the control set that I'm now used to, and putting it in controller is a completely different beast entirely because the fighting and everything else is completely like changed based on if you're using controller or mouse and keyboard. So and I have to relearn all the mappings and everything. So that's why I've just been basically just trying to focus on the mouse and keyboard controls with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Also, it's because I like running at my newer PC into any game I can that has the ability to have like higher graphics and
we're just rubbing it in your face there, Jordan. See, we're playing on PC. Yours is broke. Sorry, bud. You'll get it back soon.
2 weeks from now, when they hopefully fix whatever it is.
He needs to tell them, you know what? Just get me off Intel and give me AMD.
Yeah, get rid of the Intel chip, put an AMD chip in, and you'll already have like a 90% boost of performance in any game you play.
Jeez. So I feel so bad for him, but
yeah,
I told him not to do it. He went Intel, like, all right, buddy. What's wrong with Intel? Oh, where do we want to start?
It's if you want to have a PC that games, do not get Intel. Just don't.
Not
do
right
it.
now. Not anytime soon. They've dropped it, but I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, you're good. So right before the like big wedding, I guess. I did a lot of side stuff because I wanted to get the dog back and I wanted to get my horse back in Kingdom Come Deliverance because basically in the beginning you get ambushed and all your stuff gets stolen, which is why you get back to like level 1. And so you have to go back to getting a new set of armor, new set of weapons, new set of like relationships and connections to then eventually get your horse back or your dog back, which the dog takes forever to get back because there's so many different side quests you have to do before you finally find where your dog is. So that was always fun. But yeah, it's a very long experience. It is really good, and once you actually get like the control scheme down, like the fighting and like the pacing, it's very like I'd say it's like rhythm based because the actual fighting mechanics in Kingdom Come Deliverance is almost like a attack and counter attack thing, and that's the whole like deal. So the next game that I have been playing is Infinite Nikki. I finished absolutely every single side quest, absolutely every single main quest, and now I'm just waiting for more content so I can pull on more banners, basically. Which is funny because my wife has been playing it more than me, but she still hasn't finished everything. But I've just been streamlining absolutely everything to get everything out of the way. But now she is out of all the money, so she's been doing a bunch of the mini games to get money back in the game. Because once you get out of money, there's not a lot of easy ways to get money back in the game unless you want to wait for a reset to then go all across the world to get like the bling that is just across the worlds. I also actually been testing out the PC version of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is really fun. And it's also fun to also experience it in a 1440p, 120 frames per second. It's just a whole different ball game.
Is that a stab at the consoles?
I mean, you can play it 120 frames per second if you have VRR and if you have PS5 Pro, but I don't really have a PS5 Pro, so I'm just going to be using my PC instead for 1440p anyways, because I'm not all that big on 4K gaming yet. I do have a 4K TV for like Xbox Series X and for the PS5 that I'll sometimes play 4K, but I'll still mostly even just try using 1080p if it gives me the 60 frames per second better than 4K does, because we still have issues with running 4K 60 with the newer consoles. So.
No comment. No comment. I have to add that in the list. You know what? I'm going to add that in the list real quick. Just right before we talk about Elden Ring, we're going to talk about something that I saw recently.
Yeah, but I mean, I really love the way that like it works on Rebirth, and they still have some of the weird like lighting effects that the PS5 version has, like where like the shadows are super dark until you're inside the shadows, and then all of a sudden it's bright again. It's just one of the weirdest things that they did also in Hogwarts Legacy too, where like when you are looking inside a building, like everything is super dark, so you can't actually see anything. But once you get inside the building, it like brightens everything up. Just like such the weirdest lighting effect, and I don't know why these games are doing it. I think it's an Unreal Engine 4 thing, because I've noticed a lot of the ones that deal with like trying to go from open world to like enclosed will have this weird lighting effect. Some can actually make it work, but it's basically only works like if you don't have shadows inside buildings. So it's just like a really weird lighting thing that I thought they were going to fix, because the weird thing that they did do in the PC version is like the like water actually like makes the clothes a lot wetter and the skin is a lot wetter now than the PS5 version of the game. Which is interesting because like the PS5 version, like when you're in the stream, you still have like water effects going on. But in the PC version, you look at the water effects, just like they're like drenched. Everything is drenched. It's just so weird. But I mean, it makes sense that everything's drenched, but it makes me wonder now, mods are going to go crazy with that water effect. Or they probably already are. I haven't looked at actually any of the mods yet. I know that the most popular mods are going to be the obvious Tifa ones, though.
Obviously, yeah. Unfortunately, we got some degenerates out there who've never seen a woman's body before, so they make these mods. Yeah.
Otherwise, I've just been playing a lot of other like mobile games, dailies like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero.
We got a wild Kevin who jumped there. Let me see if we can do this without breaking the podcast.
All right.
Oh, yikes. It is totally broken. Ooh.
It is certainly something.
What happened? Let me see. Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Whoops.
Alrighty. The final thing that I've been playing is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I got into the network test, so I've been playing a bit of that. I'm a Tails main because I like the Tails cars and how Tails works with the cars because it's a lot more handling based. If you play like the Sonic or Shadow speed based vehicles, trying to turn in it is almost like impossible.
I have to ask, was there any music from Sonic R in there?
I don't know. The ones that I can remember are the Metal Harbor songs. They also have like the Radical Highway for Shadow Stage. They have a few extra Sega stages, like they have a dinosaur one. They have like a space one. There's some interesting Crossworld sections that were basically in every race in the middle of like the third lap. You'll get a Crossworld section where if you hit like one of the little buttons, it will change the stage for the last lap. And then the last lap will then hit you to the main last lap. And then you finish off in the actual map there, which is, I guess, where the Crossworlds come from. But I'm also hoping that we get to see actual Sega playable characters that aren't just Sonic show up in the cast like it was in All-Star Racing. Because I wasn't the biggest fan of the Team Sonic Racing, but I loved the Sonic All-Star Racing.
Yeah, All-Star was amazing. I love that. Yeah.
So currently right now, I'd say Sonic Racing Crossworlds is in between those two games. I think it's better than Team Sonic Racing, but I still think All-Star Racing is better.
All right. So as you noticed, we had a new challenger jump in here. Kevin decided to join us. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Not much. I think I took a small break from Fatal Fury to do with the Wolves.
So. Just a small break? I mean, how long have you been playing that game?
I gotta check. I think I did about like at least 10 hours.
See, when somebody says, I don't know, let me check, it means a long time. I've lost track of time.
Yeah.
That's usually what that means.
Pretty much. I think so. I think that's what it was.
Well, that's good. Good to have you on here for people to talk about gaming and all the cool stuff that's happening. Yeah. We're not going to ask Kevin what he's played because he's clearly already told us what he's playing. We know what he's playing. We know it.
I'm also waiting for Mecha Break to come on Xbox. I don't know when.
Oh yeah, that's today. You were talking about it didn't preload, so that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, like not on the Xbox, no, like everywhere else, like on Steam. It's like all the city right now.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna crap on Xbox today, but I will crap on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So when this console got announced and released last year, there's a lot of speculation and talk that this console was not going to do well, and a lot of people were like, it's not going to do good as the PlayStation 4 Pro, given the situation that we're in, and that we really didn't need it. We really didn't need the PlayStation 5 Pro. And one of the gaming analysts, Matt Piscatella, I think I said his name correctly, came out and said that it is not selling well. It has dropped behind the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is ridiculous because it's a newer console. It should have been outselling it, given what everything that Sony said it was going to do, and it's not. And to be honest, I picked it up because I got a good deal on selling my PlayStation 5. And I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with it. It is not what they've said it's to be. It's still loud as hell when you're playing certain games. It will sit there like my PlayStation 5 did. Unless something that I want to play on PlayStation comes out, it's just sitting there. And was it a bad investment? Yes, it was. Would I recommend you run out and get one over a regular PlayStation 5? No, not right now. I don't see the reason to get one. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Seriously. Plus, refurbished PS5s are still like $300 now. So
yeah, I would get a PlayStation 5, preferably one for disc drive, and just be happy because we don't
need
the
disc drive one.
Yeah, I have the PS5 Slim with a disc drive, and I really like it. I also like that it has a little bit more storage space than the regular PS5, and is the same price. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm disappointed with this, so don't do it, and I don't want to dwell too long on that. That said, so myself and Andrew had some time to play in the Elden Ring Nightreign closed network test last weekend, was it? Yeah, last weekend. And it had some up and down. It didn't have the passwords on after I think the first session on Friday. No password sessions at all.
Didn't have online during the first session really at all.
So that was terrible. Friday was no passwords whatsoever. And then Sunday, they finally put the passwords back and we had a chance to play together. But I want to hear what you think about what you played and what you had so far in terms of that game. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'll be curious to compare. I ultimately had a lot of fun with it. I was curious how it would work, and I think it works pretty well for taking the Elden Ring formula of difficult bosses, choosing a class, and having a lot of gear and weapons, and kind of smushing it into the almost like Fortnite format. I loved about it. I love the classes. I tried each class out. I really liked the Recluse. As someone who pretty much the entirety of Elden Ring and almost all of Shadow of the Erdtree as a spellcaster, I liked that they had something that was kind of close to my build, in that, or that was close to like the spellcaster build. The way that it uses the magic cocktail, where you can pull elements from the environment and like create spells on the fly, that was really cool. So love that build. The Duchess, I believe, was really cool as someone who enjoyed Bloodborne. It was awesome to have like a Bloodborne build in this Elden Ring game. Also interesting that it's kind of almost a greatest hits. Like my favorite boss of the test was the Centipede Demon, which actually came from the first Dark Souls. So it was cool to have different elements come from different From Software games. The format, you fight, like you explore the world for a little bit. The circle tightens in on you. You fight a boss. You do that again. Fight a second boss. Then immediately puts you in the final boss. That worked for me. It was annoying when there was someone who didn't really understand about the closing circle and would just wander off and not pay attention. Yeah, you had that happen. We all did.
I had people who were outside the circle as it's closing, and I'm watching their health. Like, did you get in where you need to be? Why are you out there?
Yeah, I think what helps is like, okay. So kind of first critique is like, one, I think it's a game that really you're going to want to play with friends, with people you know.
Yes.
With random people, it wasn't terrible, but you would get those people who would wander off into past the circle, and it was just like you're not getting it, buddy. You gotta get in the circle. And then another critique, kind of big thing. Okay, hot take. A lot of people are saying they want it to be 2-player. There isn't really a 2-player option unless someone drops out.
Right.
I honestly think that it should be 4-player.
Yes.
No. Okay. So it's not as spicy of a taste.
No. Two. I'm sorry. 3 just seems like a weird number. I don't like it. It's like 1, 2s, and 4s. I get it. 3 just.
It's an awkward number.
I don't know what it is. I just don't like 3 players in a game.
I get it for like base game Elden Ring because it's not really a multiplayer game. So it's like they don't want to add, a huge party. I get that there. It's like, okay, you can have just 2 people, but like 2 extra people. But for Nightreign, that like is a multiplayer game.
Right.
3 is such an awkward number. And then part of it is it's like it's really easy for that team to get wiped out. Like one thing that was a heartbreaker is I was on the final boss. It was my second time made to the final boss. Didn't beat it the first time, but the second time we got it down to a sliver, and then it just one-shotted us. And and if it one-shots you, you can't like heal. I mean, it one-shotted my teammates, and then I rushed over and it just wiped me out immediately. And like obviously there's things people are like, oh, get good, but it's like what I kind of wish is maybe either they add a 4th person and then it's like, okay, that person can, help everyone up, or they add some kind of thing where you can spawn at a site of grace, like just for the final boss, because it is a little frustrating to play like in Elden Ring, you can die 40 times, you can keep fighting the boss. In this, if you're on the final boss and you die, you have to do the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's like, okay, you play Elden Ring, but like if you die, you have to start the whole game over.
Can you imagine that? I would just be like, I'm done.
That's the thing.
I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. This game.
And I did like I wasn't like I'm done, but I was like I'm I'm getting a little frustrated. So my hope is they add a fourth person, but I will say I'm curious to see why I'm like cautiously optimistic. Curious to see what it's like with new maps and new like bosses, because you'll be able to choose the final boss. The one in the network test I thought was kind of ass. So hopefully they get something better. But I liked the other bosses. I liked that you get a random boss for day 1 and day 2. That's fun.
Did you ever get a chance to go up against the ancient dragon? I saw somebody. I was like, "Wow, that guy's in this game too."
Is that the one? Is that the one by the chapel or like on the lake?
No, no. That it was an ending boss for one of the days.
Oh no!
And that's the hidden dragon in I always butcher that name. Azul. Azul, I can't remember the location. Yeah, it was the one that you have to go down and lay on the ground, and it summons you. Yeah, somebody fought that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Also, that's wild.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't get that. Yeah, I think I got all the others. I got the centipede demon, the demi-humans. Was it the fell? I know the fell omen invades, but there's also an omen that you fight on day 2. There are the avatars that can be on day 2. That's pretty much what I got. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it from my thoughts. I think it was a lot of fun. I do worry about longevity, so I'm curious to see what they add for the final version. I feel like with some tweaks, it could be really good. As it stands, it's fun, but like doesn't quite last that long. Curious what you think.
So I have some thoughts about longevity as well. It's pulling me back up. First of all, I've always said Elden Ring From Software sucks in terms of co-op games. They've never been the best. But this has surprised me to the point where I always joke that they need to go and kidnap somebody from Gunfire Games, which is a much smaller developer than From Software is. But they were able to do online co-op better than From Software ever has. I still think their online co-op is even better than this. But given what Nightreign is, I understand. Longevity is a problem that I have because it's locked per platform. There is no crossplay, which again, something that they did with Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2, but yet From Software can't do this, which is going to be a problem because as we all said, like I think some people were getting it for PlayStation, other people were getting it for PC. So it's like, all right, I'm going to get it for PC, obviously, but then I'm going to have to double dip and get it on PlayStation as well. And the good thing about that is I'm not leveling my character to level 200, getting all the weapons, and then having to start again. The problem that I have with this game is the communication. Now, somebody said the full game is going to have better communication. I guess some kind of will. I never saw anything about that, so I can only take it for what people said. I hope that's true because as it stands right now, the communication system sucks. You just mark something and that doesn't. What does that mean? Is it? Do you want me to go there? Is there something there for me to get? What exactly are you marking it? What am I supposed to do about this? So that was kind of a problem. I also thought that, and this is weird for me saying, I think that some of the bosses were just overtuned. What were the name of the guys on horseback? What were those?
The avatars?
The carrion knights or something like that. If you didn't have a team that knew what they were doing, you were dead. You were simply dead. You weren't getting past them. People complained about the demigods. The demigods were easy. These guys were a pain because they would single you out and they would follow you. And if your team wasn't helping you, you were done. That also leads to some other problem with the way the death system is handled. So for those who haven't played the game or not aware of it, as long as you're playing the game in the world and you die, you can die and die and die. It doesn't matter. When you're fighting a boss, if you die, you cannot respawn. You're stuck on the ground until somebody comes and gets you up, or you just die, which really sucks because a lot of people either don't know to pick somebody off the ground, or the boss doesn't give you a chance to get the person off the ground. So that's going to be a big issue. I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of people who will pick up this game thinking it's just going to be like, oh, this is like Fortnite, but Elden Ring. No, it's not. No, it just
Yeah.
This is not. This is not it.
So it was Tree Sentinels. That's right, Tree Sentinels. That was
Yes.
Yeah,
They were a pain in the ass. And then also the RNG. RNG is a big thing in this game because there's been plenty of times I played it and I've got to like the first boss and I've had nothing. It's like, I have no weapons. I can't help you. I'm really sorry. And like you mentioned, I played the Recluse a lot, and that class is very gear dependent. She needs a strong staff to do a lot of damage. And a couple of times I played it and got to a boss, I was like, I got nothing. And I'm just literally hitting the boss and I'm doing no damage.
Oh, interesting. Did you use the cocktail? Because I pretty much just used the cocktail.
Yeah, the cocktail is an interesting mechanic to get your magic points back and also to inflict damage. But I don't like the system to a point where, okay, so you do the 3 cocktails, you do the 3, you get the essence
Siphons,
3 times,
yeah.
And then now the problem is, okay, I need to get more FP, but for me to do it again, I automatically use that ability. Now I don't want to use the special ability. Give me some way that I can just stockpile it so I can still keep getting my magic back without wasting that, because it just seems like a bad opportunity.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because you have to use it to get it. Yeah, it's interesting because like for me during the bosses, I almost exclusively used the magic cocktail because I wanted to save my FP for reviving someone. So like if someone was downed, I would use my actual spell. But like if I didn't have FP, I just couldn't do that. So I'd always save my actual spell and FP and just use the cocktail, which worked, but it was kind of like an odd strategy for that game in a way.
I also I'm not the biggest fan of the Recluse's ultimate ability because it's more of a support than doing damage. So if you're by yourself and it's like, all right, it's up to you, do it. And you're like, well, my ultimate just gives me health back. No damage.
Yeah, the ultimate, at first I really liked it because it's like, oh, it gets you health back. But then I realized that it also damages you initially. So it's kind of a gamble. So then I didn't really use it as much. I'm also curious to see, we've only seen 4 classes. We still have 4 more. I'm curious to see what those are, especially allegedly one will have, I think, or they may have said one will have a spirit ash class, because we haven't seen spirit ash.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. But it seems like maybe spirit ashes are just tied to that class.
But I enjoyed the demo, or yeah, we'll just call it a demo. I enjoyed the demo. I do wish we could see more of the maps. We just had the one map just dropping in different locations every time, and it didn't give us an idea what the actual game is going to be. But at the same time, I understand it was to test the network, and if it was to test the network, I don't think that was a good thing. I don't think it did a great job in testing a network, especially since passwords were off for an entire day. And most people were offline the first day. So maybe give us another chance.
I think they said they're going to bring it back because of that very first session where no one could get online, or very few people could. It sounds like they're going to do one more network test before.
I hope so. And make it open. Don't close. Close doesn't give you a realization or an actual idea how well your network's going to work, because closed network, you probably had a couple thousand people, right?
Yeah.
And the actual game is going to have a couple million people playing this game. So you should probably do open network tests.
It's a good point. And also will let people team up with more friends, and maybe play a little bit better. I'm also really curious, I don't know what you think, but how many bosses we're going to get in the actual game when it comes out, since there's so many Elden Ring and Dark Souls bosses.
Yeah, I don't know. That is interesting. That's a good point. I don't know, and especially if the bosses are going to rotate. It's like, or maybe like they'll do a weekly thing. Like, all right, this week you'll have these bosses. Next week you'll have this bosses. Next week you'll have this bosses. They haven't mentioned how that's going to work, and we also don't know how many maps we're getting either. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we don't know about that.
I also, going back to longevity, because I think that's a big question, I'm wondering, I like the idea of the relics. The relics are the only things that carry over between matches. And yet at the same time, I feel like the relics I got just weren't that helpful.
Just say they sucked because they sucked.
Yeah,
They sucked.
they sucked. They sucked. And also what was weird is the ones that I wanted, I couldn't actually use for my class because they're color-coded.
Exactly.
And I guess that's maybe the purpose, to sort of like give you an edge in a skill that you're not really good at. But it's like I kept getting like ones I'd be like, oh, this would be great for a spellcaster, but they were the color blue, so I couldn't use them for the recluse.
I got one that said +3 intelligence. Like, all right, great, I'm going to use it for this class, but I don't have that color for this class. How can what?
And again, like I think the theory is to sort of like balance you out in areas that like maybe you're not naturally as good at in that class. But I feel like that I get it, but it's like not as fun, and it doesn't.
I don't like being forced to play things I don't like to play.
yeah.
Don't make me do this.
Good way to put it.
All right. Well, that game comes out May 30th. Looking forward to see what happens. I hope there's another test before the game comes out because I think it definitely needs it. I'm a big fan of Elden Ring, and I'm hoping this game does good, but there's a lot of variables out there right now. There's a lot of people wondering if this game is going to provide longevity that they're looking for. So it's an experiment right now. It's to see if they're going to keep doing games like this, or if this was all right, we tried it, we didn't like it, it didn't work well. Could this be the first L from Software? And I hope that's not the case. They do great stuff.
The price point does make it attractive and also a little bit more palatable if it doesn't have that much longevity. That's $39.99 in the US, I believe. So cheaper than a lot of games. We'll see.
And it's not a live service game, people. Stop saying it. It's not one of those. God. Not everything is live service.
Yeah.
All right, Jen. So you were talking about Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy. I know nothing about this. So what's the excitement about this? What's going on with this?
Alrighty. So earlier this week, Magic the Gathering unveiled their collaboration that they were doing with Final Fantasy. And it sounds like they're doing a lot of things that are similar to their Doctor Who collaboration that they did, where they're introducing commander decks that are based off of Final Fantasy characters, and they're also introducing cards based on the Final Fantasy franchise. They're trying to do as much of the different characters that they can get, they said, of the mainline Final Fantasy games of 1 through 16. So we're going to be getting a lot of named characters, and we might even get just like characters like Final Fantasy 1, where you'll get like the Warrior of Light, you'll just get like a Dark Mage or something that's akin to that. But so far of what that has been unveiled, we have a Final Fantasy 6 deck, commander deck, that's going to be based off of Terra. We have a Final Fantasy 7 deck that's based off of Cloud. We have a Final Fantasy 10 deck based off of Titus, and a Final Fantasy 14 deck based on Y'shtola. So those are the 4 commander decks that we have knowledge of right now. They've introduced other cards that they're bringing in. One of my favorite ones that they showed was Cactar, who is a ridiculously OP card because once he gets on the field, he gets 7,000 plus 1 counters on himself. So he essentially becomes like a 777 attack power monster with 7 health. If you make him indestructible with like trample with like enchantments or stuff, he's just gonna be impossible to kill. But yeah, so they have a lot of new things and cards that are coming out from Magic the Gathering, and a lot of them look really good. They include more like Magic the Gathering inspired art with the Final Fantasy characters, and they also have anime inspired art of the Final Fantasy characters. They have 2 different art styles. They also have border cards as well as borderless cards, so the entire card is like the art itself instead of just having the borders that surround it to make it look like a genuine like Magic the Gathering card. This is the first time they did it, something like this. They do it like with a lot of their collaborations. Like I think Lord of the Rings has done it, and Doctor Who even I think has some borderless cards too. So yeah. This is just more like part of the course, but there's just a lot of things that they're doing with it, and I hope that we see more of their individual cards. We saw like transformed cards, we saw summon cards. So they have a lot of things on the horizon with this Final Fantasy collaboration. Granted, the Final Fantasy collaboration doesn't hit us until like June this year. So we still have a bit of time until the cards get released. You can pre-order them still from Amazon. I don't think they actually have a stock in the Amazon one. I think it's like made to order. But that's the only thing I've seen, because Best Buy tried to have a launch for pre-order, and then like almost immediately they took it down.
Yeah, you actually, it's interesting. It's kind of like with the Doctor Who one, there's one commander deck that is much harder to get than the others. With Doctor 2, it was for the 10th Doctor, the David Tennant one. There was the
that makes sense.
You couldn't get it. It was like really, it's still really expensive. For this one, it's Cloud, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Currently on Amazon at this time, you can get any of the commander decks. You can pre-order any of them. But the Final Fantasy VII one featuring Cloud is unavailable. The others you can get. There is also, interestingly, a starter kit that is only $20, and that one does have actually a Cloud deck and a Sephiroth deck, so that you can get, but the $70 Final Fantasy VII one commander deck for Cloud you cannot get currently, but maybe Best Buy will have it. And then they will come out on June 13th, so it's a ways away. We'll see how they do. We've seen some of the cards that feature as the commanders. We haven't seen the entirety of the decks yet, so it'll be curious to see what they do. We do know, like the Lord of the Rings decks, they'll have kind of different versions of certain characters. So like the Lord of the Rings series, for example, has like, I think like 4 different versions of Gandalf. So we already know we have 2 different versions of, and it's very, he goes through different phases. But we will have 2 different Clouds. There's Cloud Planet's Champion, that's in the starter kit, and then in the commander deck, Cloud Ex-Soldier, which is an interesting title when you think about it, but I don't want to spoil Final Fantasy.
You don't want to spoil that.
Wait,
He's a liar.
Okay. And we'll see if we get a 3rd version of Cloud that's like Cloud, but this is what he really is.
Shinra gear.
Maybe the weakest one, but so I'll be curious to see the other cards in those decks. And then, like Scott said, something that's really exciting is some of these characters we're seeing in like a more realistic format, kind of for the first time ever. So like Final Fantasy VI is one of the decks, because that's a pixel game. The last before polygons, we'll see some characters unpixelated for the first time. Notably, the Terra one does have green hair.
Which I was super excited about.
So those are some extra details on that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, honestly. I do want to see more of the cards. We did get to see like Cecil from one of the introductions they showed, which allowed him to have a transformed state, where basically he begins in his Dark Knight form and he turns into his Paladin form, almost like after he gets attacked or gets to a certain like level of health, which is kind of cool. So they are also playing around with the summons, where like you can have summons on the field, but they're only like 3 turn cards that for every like turn they get a different effect, kind of a deal. And then the 3rd card they like go back to the deck. It's just really interesting to see like some of the mechanics they have with it. And I haven't necessarily played Magic for a while, but I still remember a lot of the mechanics and stuff, because I'll sometimes play casually with one of like my brother-in-law. He still has a lot of Magic cards. I only have like 2 decks. I know where they're at right now.
I've never played the game. I know people talk about it. I've never played it. Never. So
I've lost a lot of my high school life to Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh, honestly.
Yeah, for me,
sounds like me in World of Warcraft.
Middle school was Yu-Gi-Oh. High school, I got into Magic more, because I felt like it was the more adult trading card game.
For me, it was kindergarten, 1st grade. That was Pokemon, the Pokemon era. Then it was like 2nd grade through 5th grade, I think, was Yu-Gi-Oh. and then it was 6th through 8th was Magic the Gathering for me and my school. But I'll have to dig up. I still have my Magic cards, and they're from like the early. A lot of them are like predate even when I started playing, because I like got a few cards from a friend.
Yeah, hand-me-down cards. No,
hand-me-down cards. They're from like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to dust those off.
Dang. Kind of reminds me of my Yu-Gi-Oh stage. Yeah, it's just like the show. No, it's not.
Not at all.
No, you can't do that. No pot of greed 50 times. That's not going to work.
Dual discs are not nearly as easy to get in the real world as it is in the Yu-Gi-Oh world.
Not even. You revealed my trap card. What the?
How can
This
you
is
read
all
it way over here?
alien to me. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I just watched the cartoon, the anime. That was it. I know nothing else.
Speaking of like funny things, I do wonder. I don't know how commander decks work really, because that's not my era. But like, I want to have a deck that's like, it's like, oh, we've got Gandalf and he's fighting next to Aerith, but like, wait, the doctor is coming in. Like,
just mix the commander decks together.
Yeah, I want to mix them together. Maybe that's not allowed. I don't know.
I made custom commander decks with me and my friends in high school, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to agree to it.
All right. So
when you do normal commander deck games, they usually require you to have like the actual commander deck, like the full deck itself. But that's only on like, I guess, like when you actually go to like other places to do it officially. But if you're like in a casual instance with like friends, you can make up whatever rules you want. We would make up our own commander decks, because we'd have cards where we're like, this feels like it should be a main person commander, because we want to just be able to use that card more often, because say it's like a really hard card to summon and you just want to be able to use it, so you turn them into your commander and then you just make a deck based on that. And it's just really fun to like just mix and match in that aspect. But yeah, a lot of the times when you do like official commander deck tourneys, they'll usually either give you a preset commander deck, or you'll actually have to bring your own and make sure it's actually like the full commander deck list. They don't want you to have like an unbalanced commander deck. It's not like the same where like when you do a normal Magic the Gathering tournament, and you can basically, as long as you adhere to its like strict deck rules of having this many cards, can't have this many specific same monsters or this specific same artifact, then you're good to go. So it's a little different that way, but I think that's just because the commander decks, like the way that they're made in-house, are a lot more balanced, or supposedly balanced. There's still favorites among them all.
All right. So among friends, I can have my Gollum versus Kate Sith showdown. Got it.
Exactly.
All right. So we got the Magic the Gathering out. Oh, so Kevin, you were playing Fatal Fury, right?
Yep.
And you're going to tell us about it, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
Let's talk about it. So you've been playing this, I guess, since it came out. You've got no sleep. You haven't eaten anything. So how good is this? How good is this demo? How good is this game going to be?
I feel
Street
pretty
Fighter
buzzed.
6, watch out.
Street Fighter 6, watch out. On a technical level, yeah. Like, there's a lot of things in the system that's just definitely different from the original game, like from Mark of the Wolves, as well as from Real Bout and pretty much Fatal Fury itself. Even though, like, they do have some of the characters, like, for instance, Terry. Terry's still in there, still doing his thing. Mai magically came back. You also got Andy and Joe that's going to be showing up for the season 1. Yeah, like they brought back Just Defense. They changed top to SVG, which has like a whole bunch of different things with the rev flow system. I mean, the rev system itself. So you got like rev flow, rev guard, like a lot of. It feels like it really promotes aggressive fighting more times than just saying, okay, let me just hold back. So it's something similar. I mean, if I was gonna like really put it to something, it does feel a little bit more like Under Night 2. So like Under Night 2's XS system, whereas it does reward you. Well, not like, I mean, it does kind of reward you with like when you're being a little bit more aggressive. However, like if you spam stuff, like for instance, you use like EX moves a lot. It does have the whole overheating system, which is kind of similar to like burnout of the Street Fighter 6. So there's definitely that, and a lot more tactical thinking when it does come to actual fights. The demo itself, I did have issues. Like for instance, like if you're waiting for a match, instead of like being able to practice up, it's just showing the actual, I guess just showing the like searching or whatever like that. Like it's just doing that in a loop. And that kind of got a little annoying sometimes, where they'd have to wait like maybe like at least 20 or 30 seconds just to get a match in certain points. I did notice that like doing PS4, the PS4 version on the PS5, there was a little bit of tearing as well too. At first I thought I was imagining it, but then I noticed that like there's some people also reporting that as well, and I'm like, oh, that's actually real. So like small technicalities like that. So those are different things as well. Even though you got at least 8 characters to play around with. The Preacher's scary, I think.
I remember playing Preacher at a Summer Game Fest, and she was scary.
Yeah, like, especially with those stances and like commands and all that. It's like Joe can't do any of that.
I think that's the whole point. I think that we want to give you guys another kickboxer, and not just Joe.
Yeah.
Play somebody else.
Exactly. It's pretty much. It feels like the Bob Wilson replacing Richard Meyer situation, but on like a whole different level, like a brand new different level, thanks to those like commands and all that. I mean, the lack of grappler, that kind of felt troublesome a little bit. Like I was hoping that we'd at least get Tizak in there, at least to say, okay, that it does feel like there's a bit more variety when it comes to everybody else. But from what we got, a good 8, that wasn't too bad at all. I know I didn't get to try the room. That was something I really wanted to get into at least. So like room matches, but casual as well as rank. Rank is pretty good, like because rank doesn't base it on a certain character. Like for me, that's okay, but because like they usually like at least you have like 3 different rounds just for quote unquote trials, improving and all that, and then after they give you a rank from there. Yeah, the lack of practice mode, that kind of sucks.
So the lack of practice mode. I heard that it was cracked.
Yeah, it was less than 24 hours, I think, or was it 48 hours? Less than 48 hours it was cracked.
So what platforms was it cracked on? Was it just the PC? I'm assuming it's just the PC.
Yeah, I think it was PC, actually.
Okay.
So somebody was able to like pretty much crack the whole game, but also there has been leaks as to like, for instance, like certain endings. Someone has actually found out the whole, it looks like they found out the whole DLC plan, since SNK did state that they like what's called, they were like, yeah, we got this game planned out 3 years in advance. So they were able to figure out exactly like a whole bunch of characters on the DLC ranks. And yeah.
Can I just say, you people that are cracking these games are complete and total morons, because you're hurting yourself. What's happening here is, this is why certain games that have demos don't come out for the PC, because they know stuff like this will happen. Data mining, they're not allowed, so they won't let you play the game on PC. Elden Ring Nightreign was not available to play on a PC. I wonder why that was. So the more you people, and I don't care, take it how you want it, you people that are doing these things are going to get these developers going, you know what, maybe we shouldn't release demos for the PC anymore. And we got it back to the point where they're giving us demos, and then you go and do this dumb stuff because you want to play the training mode. and then they're gonna go, well, you know what? Maybe if we do another demo, or maybe some other company comes out, you know what? We want to do another demo, but you know what? Screw those PC guys. We don't need this. Please stop. Please.
Exactly.
God,
I agree, man. Like, when I saw some of those, I'm like, no, really, you couldn't wait.
And no, what else you also did? You gave people who are going to be at Evo a chance to get better, because nobody has access to the full game.
Yeah.
And this game will come out. This game comes out in what, another month or so?
April 24th.
And Evo's in June?
August
So,
1st. But however, you do have like the Evo Japan, like pretty much like in May.
This game isn't in Evo Japan. It's just Evo Las Vegas. So you're giving people who are already going to beat your ass a head start to beat your ass. Why would you do that? Just don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Next time we don't get a demo on PC, we know who to blame.
Yep.
Dirty Fatal Fury City Wolves players.
Yep.
Rotten guys.
We didn't do anything.
Speaking of rotten, Scott's telling me there's some controversy going on with one of his favorite upcoming games, Trails Through Daybreak 2. What's going on?
Alrighty. So one thing that I was kind of expecting after embargo was going to be over was there was going to be some people talking about the third act problems of Daybreak 2, which there is some issues with how they do the structure and the narrative by introducing basically time travel. Time travel is always a messy mechanic in most games. The only one that I can really say did it really well is Chrono Trigger. Most other time travel mechanics will either break certain like things that have already been established, they'll ruin characterizations or something like that. That said, that, however, was not the random controversy I thought was going to actually get pulled on. The controversy that got pulled on was in one of the early segments of the demo. There is a line where a character named Nadia talks about how she needs to up her Riz because she uses a lot of slang in Japanese. And so they didn't want to use Japanese slang in an English localization, so they decided they were going to bring in like Gen Z slang for this character in particular.
I already see where this is going.
And so a lot of people then jumped onto this bombardment and basically used this one line to basically say that the entirety of the localization of Daybreak 2 is garbage. And it sucks because this is one line out of like, say, 800,000 different lines of dialogue, because the Trails series is very text and dialogue heavy. Every single character gets a lot of dialogue, gets a lot of text, gets a lot of characterization that helps you basically figure out what their purpose is in the story. And so everyone will keep pulling up this line, and it has even gotten so far up its a-hole for all these anti-localization grifters to go after one of the big localizers of the Trails games that's currently going on.
This war will be a lot better about grifters, I swear.
Yeah, it sucks because basically one of the localizers, his name is Andrew Wallace, and he is very big. He's a very big Trails fan, and he's also a big fan of one of my favorite characters, which is Kevin in the Trails series. He's a protagonist that happens in Sky 3. Well, he shows up in Sky, the second story, but he is the main focus point of Sky the third. And he basically gets like all of this like big momentum and stuff, and then they kind of just push him to the side as they then focus on all the other protagonists, and he like never shows up until the third Daybreak. But that's a whole other ball game. Anyways, he's a huge fan of the Trail series. He's a huge fan of how it works, and he also was one of the ones who used to do fan translations of the games when we couldn't get the games in English because Falcom was having a lot of issues finding publishers in the West to help them with localization because they had very strict guidelines they wanted to adhere to. So that was one of the big things that also them and Exceed Games had an issue with until NIS America helped pick up the ball. And ever since then, Falcom's been has had a lot less strict guidelines on how they work with the games, which has made it a lot more possible to have more Trails games in the world. In case you're wondering, that's why we're getting like 3 Trails games this year for some reason, is because Falcom is finally lessening some of their guidelines to work with more publishers and to help get the Trails series more mainstream is what they want, but it's just going to be more accessible and more available to people to buy and to play. And it's just annoying that it's now like the target of this old anti-localization grifter department, especially since most of the people who are talking about it have never played any of the Trails games. And a lot of times like, we have to be strict to the Japanese translation. which I will tell you right now, no, that's garbage. Machine translated from Japanese is not going to give you anything of worth, because there's so many things that we can't translate in a machine translation from Japanese to English, because there's so much that we don't do here in America when it comes to English localization and English languages, because there's so much things that we need to do better. Because if you're someone who wants to go into, well, it has to be exactly machine translated, guess what? There's never going to be any swear words. There's never going to be any frustration, any actual guidelines, because the way that Japanese language and dialects work is most of that is subtleness. There's a lot of subtle cues in how they basically react and refer to people that doesn't translate here, because we don't have all of those different honorifics. We don't have all of those different, basically, we don't have a lot of different things that Japan does in their language. And that's basically with every other location as well. Yep. Every language is completely different than every other language. Well, there's probably some that are closer to others, like Portuguese and Spanish and French and all of that. But most of the places, especially English is a mess when it comes to when you look at our actual grammar rules. So that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to basically translate from one language to English, is because our rules are so all over the place. We can't basically translate something one-to-one. That's never going to happen. If you look at old machine translated stuff from the 90s, it's usually pretty garbage. So I always love having more localized games from Japan, being able to have someone who's actually fans of the series, who actually work with the actual Japanese teams to figure out how certain characters are characterized, to get things here so that they have basically still the characterization of the characters as they are in Japan, as well as the language in a way that we can actually understand them, and how it works with the way that we understand things like slang. Japanese slang, it does not translate well to this slang, or to slang that we have in America. It does, heck, even American slang doesn't translate well to like England. England has different slang too that they deal with. So a lot of languages and a lot of different regions have slang and different kind of language rules that are completely different than other places. And I hate that it's turned into some anti-localization warfare. And the thing that they want most to happen is AI language translation, which is going to be even more terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be garbage.
Anyone who's worked with ChatGPT will tell you.
That's going to suck.
Yes. So if you are one of those people who are listening in to all these anti-localization like hate because of this one line in an 800,000 line text game, you're dumb. That's all.
Can you imagine using that and then having to go back and edit all the things that it messed up? It doesn't.
Just reminds me.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
If you were a PC gamer trying to get like Japanese ROMs in the 90s or the 2000s, and you got like the English translated, machine translated script, those things were terrible. They were abysmal. So I can't understand why people are saying you should just get the English machine language translated version, because even the Daybreak 2 or the Daybreak 2, the Chrono Kiseki Crimson Sin, like translated from like the Excel translated spreadsheet that they had from like fan translations, it still has a lot of problems in actually trying to tell you the characterization and the characters and how they actually work. But people don't necessarily care as much because they just want to understand the story of the Trails series, because this Trails, a lot of the big reasons people go to the Trails games is because of how like amazing the world building is and how the big plot moves everything forward in its games. So people are more focused on that than they are on the characterization. And a lot of people are also focused on the actual character models than they are of the characterization of their personalities. But that's kind of true in a lot of different games. That's not a Trails specific thing. But overall, that's just the most annoying thing that's been going on with Daybreak 2 the last few weeks. And all I just want to say is I want more localized games. I want more games to come here to the West. I don't care about your anti-localization grifting, and I don't want machine-translated garbage.
Scott said, knock it off, morons. He was being polite, so I'm not polite. Stop being idiots. Oh, jeez. Talking about idiots, our buddy Phil Spencer.
Gosh.
I mean, God, I would not like to be him because he is in such a terrible position that it doesn't make a difference what he says or does. He's always going to be the bad guy. Either he's being told what to say, or the people that own Microsoft are saying, hey, look, we're doing this. There's nothing you can do about it. The Xbox fanboys that are going, well, Phil sucked because Phil's doing this. The other side of the equation, the gamers are going, well, Xbox has no idea what they're doing. Me for saying I have no idea what Xbox is doing, and I don't think they know what they're doing.
No.
But now they're going to break a different trend, different mold. So anytime you watch a game convention or a live stream that is focused strictly on a first-party company, not first-party company, but games that are for a specific company, like when PlayStation does their shows, everything they show in a PlayStation show has a PlayStation logo on it. Everything in a Nintendo show has Nintendo's logo on it. Well, Xbox decided that, hey, you know what? Since we're becoming Sega, Sega, you can argue all you want, but in another couple years, it'll be Xbox, Sega. They're the same company now. They're going, hey, you know what? How about we put other companies' logos on our videos? Why? I mean, I get it now that you're like, we're developing our games and our Xbox games and putting them on other platforms because that's bringing us in more money, and that's all the people who run us care about money, not the people who supported us since, the very beginning. And when we were almost on the way out, they bought our stuff and they kept us afloat and kept the brand going. But now you're like, we don't care. So Forza Horizon 5, whenever we see it surface again, we'll have a PlayStation logo on it. Whatever Xbox game comes out may have a Switch logo on it and a PlayStation logo on it. And it's just like, well, that's going to be very weird because we always saw a logo from that company on your videos.
Yeah, it was weird, especially because they started this kind of during their developer direct earlier this year, where they had PlayStation 5 on like everything, which was weird addition because Xbox has been kind of notorious the last few years where they basically give like NDAs to these studios to basically say that they're not allowed to tell them they're going to be on PlayStation for like a month or something. Like I remember Persona 5 Royal was able to go on Nintendo Switch, but they couldn't say it for like a month and a half because Xbox had some weird NDA rule they had with them. So it's interesting that they basically went full opposite, where now it's just like we're gonna have our logos everywhere.
Yeah,
every other logo.
It was such a slap in the face when what game was it? They announced for Xbox, and they were like, in a couple months in spring.
Yeah, that was Indiana Jones.
They're big
Indiana Jones came to the Game Awards. And then Jeff Keighley's like, just wait for it. And then he just pointed to the screen. It's like, and it's coming to PlayStation 5.
It's interesting. I've heard the rumors were that it was going to come in April, but I don't think that's official. I wonder if
I don't think they have a date other than they said it was 2025.
Okay.
So
interesting. We'll
it
see.
Could be in April.
Shadow drops. Yeah, it could be in April.
The thing I argue with. So it's kind of a weird situation the way you talk about this, right? Because I talk, I debate, sometimes I argue with Xbox fans that one, this is the way they're going and it sucks. I understand your frustration, but what can you do? At the same time, I totally agree with what you're saying. If you're supporting a console for all these years and then all of a sudden decide to go, you know what, screw you. Or I could have brought a PlayStation 5 to get all the cool PlayStation 5 games and just waited for the Xbox games to come to the PlayStation 5. Yeah. But instead, I brought the Xbox and now I'm like, oh, it's coming on PlayStation 5 anyway. It's like, well, damn, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look. But again, it's Sega. So I think they're circling the drain. Their messaging is all over the place. They have no idea what they're doing. I don't think the people at top really care because, again, dollar signs, a dollar sign.
No, all they care about is how much money they can get off of it. They don't care about the value of the console or the value of the brand.
So,
not anymore, of course.
It's about the value of how many people's pockets can we get into with this game.
And how much Game Pass we can sell. How much Game Pass we can
Game
sell.
Pass,
they've
had their focus.
Descriptions. It's
so frustrating. Yeah. It just sucks to see. They came in as the scrappy underdog, and they stayed afloat for so long. And it's just, I have no skin in the game with this. No. I can only see what I see, talk about what I feel. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, whatever. I really don't care. You know,
if you are someone who has gone to Xbox only for the last few generations, I'm sorry for you.
yes,
But at the same time, I'm also in the Spain where I have I have all the consoles.
it's not even that anymore because it was like
that one doesn't even matter, sadly.
Right, but even when they brought those games to the PC, like day one, Game Pass games, PC, and I was like, yes, sorry, Xbox, I'm not playing you anymore. So
yeah, I mean, you still have some hit or miss titles when it comes to them, when it comes to their like PC ports, but for the most part,
let's not talk about PC. Let's not do that.
Yeah, if you have a strong PC, you can generally play the game better than you could on an Xbox Series X.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that totally. Like, I mean, at first I felt the same way about Xbox. You know, when Dreamcast, had to bow out, and Microsoft is like, oh yeah, we'll take those Sega games. We'll do something good with those. And then we get to this point where they're like, "Oh, you don't even need a console anymore. You just fire up your TV."
$20 Amazon Fire Stick.
Your phone is an Xbox. Your PlayStation is an Xbox.
Everything is an Xbox.
Everything is Xbox. I'm like, all right, I don't know about that, but okay, I got you. Sure.
I'm gonna turn my fridge into an Xbox for Ray.
I thought about that, right? If somebody gets Xbox running on a refrigerator, somebody's never leaving the kitchen again. I can play right here. I'm done.
Yeah,
can I get my Xbox Series X refrigerator to play an Xbox as an Xbox?
That's just a crash. Oh god,
it doesn't work as a refrigerator, but maybe it could work as an Xbox.
That's how people refrigerators don't actually refrigerate anything. God, that was some crap. But all the influencers like, I got my Xbox refrigerator, but does it work? No.
It makes it slightly colder than room temperature.
Terrible.
It smells a little, but it's there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right. So
Project Scarlet, really. That's
so in a move that surprises no one, especially me, because I've been writing about this and saying for the last couple of years. Former PlayStation president, say his name, I always say his name correctly. Shuhei Yoshida had said, bringing PlayStation games to the PC is almost like printing money. And I'm like, really? Yeah. Who would have thought that was the case? And of course, you got a lot of people out there, just like you have Xbox fans that don't want you bringing Xbox games off the platforms. You got PlayStation fans out there saying, don't bring PlayStation games out to the PC because it'll devalue the console. Huh? How does it devalue the console? If you have somebody who is dead set about never buying a PlayStation ever, and you can still sell them the game. How does that devalue? It's bringing PlayStation, the brand, money, regardless of selling a console or not. And buckle up, Spanky. We're getting to the point where there's going to be just one platform playing these games. Or maybe there'll be a PlayStation and the game will also be on the PC. So bringing these games over to the PC just seems like a good point, a good way to make more money. Yeah. And hopefully the ports aren't trash like some of them have been.
Poor Spider-Man 2. I don't know what Nixies did.
Or maybe when you bring out these games, you drop more of the PlayStation Network requirements. Yeah. No, somebody told me that even though they dropped the requirement, you still can't buy the games. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not in a region that
they might not have restricted the regions yet for some of the ones they removed the PSN network for, but it might be the case going forward when they're already known to not have PSN restrictions.
That's just so dumb.
So it's one of those things where it probably was decided in between its actual publishing on Steam rather than before the actual publishing on Steam occurred.
Well,
but, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm fine with more PlayStation games coming to PC. I do think I'm also on the same side though. So for those of you who looked at the actual interview with Yoshida, he did have a lot of cool insight into it. But basically, what he said is the reason why you'll see more PC and PlayStation crossovers is because of them actually targeting the Chinese audience and the international audiences more than just American. Because China and Japan especially are very focused on PC, not on console.
Which is surprising, right? People would think the PlayStation is big in Japan. It's like it is, but PC gaming has gotten a lot bigger.
The only console that's like on everyone's like homes in Japan is like the Nintendo Switch, but that's only because of how often that they have commutes from trains and subways. So because of that, they need handheld consoles, which is why the Switch thrives in Japan.
So I gotta wonder if that's the case. I wonder how the sales are, or how popular things like the Steam Deck is in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but something that was interesting was when I was in Japan the other month, it was fascinating to see the heavy advertising for the Switch. It was wild to be on the subway, and there'd be like subway announcements, and then just below it, trailers for Echoes of Wisdom or just the Switch in general. Was fascinating, and that they really market pretty hard over there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then
so yeah, guys. Wow, there's my voice. So they're PlayStation fans. So we'll be seeing more PlayStation games on PC, and don't fight Evolution, because
the one thing Yoshida did say that was interesting is he did say that he doesn't see Sony doing ever a full day and date with PC and PlayStation.
I would love to see that,
but it really depends, I think, on that. I think even though you could argue, well, I mean, yeah, you can argue about how exclusives do give value to a console, but yeah, it does have some whole other conversations when it comes to adding exclusives on the PC as well as console at the same time. I don't think it has too much of a difference, just because the audiences of console and PC are very different. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of casual console owners who don't really care about PC gaming. And that is their right. They're allowed to do whatever they want with what they want of their consoles. Exactly. And how they basically they just have their, like, say their PlayStation 5 or their Xbox Series X being not only their gaming console, but it's also like their media hub where they do YouTube and everything all in just one box. Yeah.
It's also I think that the kind of delayed release compromise is a nice one. I mean, I'm still waiting for, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation, but I'm glad it's coming. But also on the flip side, PlayStation, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that was my game of the year last year, but it didn't meet sales expectations. So it seems like since it's been doing so well on Steam the last couple of weeks, they might recoup those losses. It might make a profit there. So I'm thrilled to see that, and I am wondering if they're even going to move the date up for Part 3 for when it comes out for PC. If it's going to be releasing for PlayStation a couple months later for PC.
You don't think it's going to be same day?
I don't think it'll be day and date, simply because I think they've had that contract in place since the first one. So...
But
you gotta wonder about that.
The contract, maybe they can move it up a little. But
they might have some kind of loophole or something. They can
hey, it didn't sell well on PlayStation. It didn't sell as good as you told us it was going to. So we had to put it on PC eventually, because your console didn't sell as much as you said it was going to sell. So what do we do, gents?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the whole conversation is one that really bothers me. Not because I play my games majority on PC, because I still play my consoles when I blow the dust off of them, but I still play them. I've got a crap ton of games over here on the console, so it's not like I don't play them. I just like having a more powerful machine play the games when they play properly. And telling somebody that you can't get a certain game on your PC because people are worried that it'll replace the PlayStation. I mean, that's crazy talk. I mean, I don't want to say look at Xbox, because Xbox
has its own problems right now, and I don't think it was the PC day and date.
No, it wasn't. Because when games came out on PC day one with the consoles, it was great. It was doing fantastic. It was a good thing.
Yeah,
they were even bragging how much we sold because the games are coming out on PlayStation the markets are coming out on Xbox and PC.
Yeah,
and that was that's great. Good job.
Yeah, a lot of their issues came with how many things they tried to advertise with Game Pass, and then they stopped focusing on games in general. So I mean, their games quality also wasn't all that good in the beginning of Game Pass. They were just focusing it as like a content farm, similar to like Netflix was doing.
Yeah, that's what they said.
They just wanted content farms.
They wanted Game Pass to be the Netflix of gaming, and that's just not.
That was their problem. They became Netflix of gaming.
So that definitely wasn't a good thing, And then of course, again, everything is an Xbox. I don't know who thought about that. I mean, the commercial was pretty cool, but at the same time,
very bad messaging.
Is it really? No. Is it really? Oh, I could just buy this Fire TV stick and play Xbox games, but how does it run the game? Well, it doesn't matter because you got some casual gamers, and that's. I hate to circle back to it, but that's what is shooting you thumb in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
If you have casual gamers that don't really care, they just want to play the game, and the game runs worse than it would on Xbox Series S, they don't care. I'm playing the game. Okay, great. So what about these consoles that are more powerful than your Fire TV stick? I don't care.
Yeah.
So you just shot yourself in the foot and you just lost a sale.
They're just getting it for Fortnite. I mean, it's interesting to see like how often you have like the most played games, and it's basically just Fortnite across the board. People just want to get a console to play the casual game. That's all they want to do.
And that is definitely not the kind of message you want to send Xbox.
No.
You're doing it. No. You're doing it. Why buy our console when you can just buy this?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But PlayStation doesn't have that problem. PlayStation is doing great. But maybe putting more of your games on PC, maybe a little earlier, will give you more money because it's already showing you that people will buy your games.
Yeah.
But they also showing you they will complain and moan and be very outspoken about, hey, this game sucks.
Yeah, I mean, Day and Day helped Helldivers 2 substantially.
Oh yeah,
so.
Oh my god! until they broke it, until they
decided that they were going to ruin everything because PlayStation 1 also wanted to shoot itself in the foot.
You need a PlayStation ID to play on a PC. Yeah, that'll go well.
That was such a such a Windows game. Windows games. What was it?
Windows games. I think I remember that.
Yeah. Pay us to play on the internet. Pay you to play on a PC online. What?
It just reminds me of the was it the 80s, the 90s when you had to buy an AOL internet disc to install
oh my
AOL
god
or whatever.
No. Oh my god.
Oh gosh.
Jeez.
Remind me of Phantasy Star Online when we had to buy the Hunter's license.
Hey, hey man, I lived on Phantasy Star Online. I lived on that game.
That was great.
I could play that every day. Nothing changed. I'll play it every day.
Oh, dude, especially Blue Burst. I love that. Oh, yeah.
More monsters. It's going to be interesting. What's the next PlayStation game coming out on PC?
I think Lost Souls. Oh, you mean like
first party?
First party.
Lost Souls is first party too. PlayStation is publishing.
But Yote doesn't have a date.
Another game we won't be playing day one because of PlayStation doesn't like us. Ghost of Tsushima, is it? Or no, Last of Us. Last of Us
Part 2, I think, is coming on to PC.
Oh yeah,
I think they're also doing another Horizon remaster on PC.
The 2, I think.
Oh,
Horizon Forbidden West.
We don't need all these rotten remasters. Stop it. Oh, the best remaster is the Days Gone remaster coming out for the PlayStation 5. But the PC already has a remastered version, so they're just getting updates.
They're just adding a few updates, and it's just like, okay.
So the PC get it day one, and the PlayStation had to wait for the PC version to get released on the PlayStation 5? Is that what you're telling me would happen? Because that's what it sounds like. I'm not here to poke fun at your
Just wait until we get the Spider-Man remastered edition to get the PC version on the PS5 Pro.
I'm already over Spider-Man on PC. I know people are enjoying it. I just don't. The whole thing was handled badly, and Nixus knows better. I would love to know what exactly happened there. You didn't announce that it was coming. Well, no, we knew it was coming out, but you didn't tell us when it was coming out until a couple of days before it came out. You didn't announce when it was released. You didn't do any advertisement for it. You just went, hey, it's on PC. Go play. Oh, guys, it sucks.
Yeah, they kind of pulled a Square Enix with that.
But of course, Steam told them, they were like, no, we don't want this. You need to fix this. I don't even know the state of it on PC because I
played it the first day and then refunded it.
I was like, oh, no. All right.
After I saw some of the stuff coming out, I didn't even bother. I mean, Spider-Man Remastered was great, so I thought it was going to be the same, especially with
Remastered was fantastic. It's like, so what happened? It's the same game engine. What happened? What did you?
I don't know.
People are still complaining. It still crashes. Still doesn't work properly. Some people, it's got positive reviews, but people are still complaining.
Yeah. So. Wait for more patches. Apparently, there was 3 patches since launch. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't.
Good, yeah.
And that, unfortunately, is the pro and con of PC gaming. Yes, you can get games that look amazing, play great, powerful machine, but also a bazillion combinations. So what might work for you won't work for me, and vice versa. This is why PC games need to have a baseline, but they don't believe in that. So whatever. All right, folks. We're at the end of the podcast, so this is pretty much a roundtable discussion. Is there anything that we could have talked about that we missed?
Steam Next Fest is next week. For those who are interested,
I don't care about Steam Next Fest or any Steam sales. They just make you go broke. They kill your wallet, your bank account.
I'm hoping
you got like thousands of games you're never going to touch.
Exactly. How many games have you bought? 10. Are you going to play them? No.
I'll play maybe 1 for 10 minutes and then go to the same game I was playing before.
Exactly. The same game. How many games have you played? Dark Souls 3 was that game. It's like, I bought this game and I went back and played Dark Souls 3 again. How many hours do you have in Dark Souls 3? First of all, what platform? And over 1,000. Did you play the game a lot? Yes, I do.
Yeah, that was Warriors Orochi 3 for me. I have beaten all consoles, plus the Ultimate Edition on PC.
Well, I will say this then, in closing, Souls-like fans, you are going to be eating well this year. We've got, not only do we have the Elden Ring Nightreign, we also have First Berserker Kazan. That is pretty cool. We have AI Limit coming out as well, which is an interesting game. There's another one coming out. I don't remember what it is.
Lies of P DLC.
Lies of P DLC is coming out.
Yep.
We also have Mandaraga, The Whispers of the Witch Tree. They changed the name. It's a 2D Souls-like game coming out this year. They don't have a release date. I played the demo back last year, in October, I think. Loved it. So look forward to that. Oh, it does have a release date, April. So there's another Souls-like game coming out. And then, of course, it's not Souls-like, but it is hunting monsters. That being Monster Hunter Wilds coming out this Friday.
Hooray!
You're gonna love it. You're gonna be like, "Where's Keith?"
He's going to be Elden Ring all over again.
It'll be me and Will killing monsters because Will loves that game. He loves Monster Hunter, so it's going to be fun. All right, folks. Well, that is the end of the Spectator Mode Podcast. As always, we love the fact that you stayed the entire of the show and listened to us rant about gaming stuff. So thank you very much. And as always, you want to check out our stuff, you can find it over at theouterhaven.net. Check us out on YouTube, The Outer Haven. Also, check out our podcast on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts. It's not called YouTube or Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else great podcasts are. And of course, if you do check out our show on Amazon, and also Apple, do us a favor and maybe leave a review. Because the more reviews we got, the more people have a better chance of seeing the show. I hate that kind of algorithm, but hey, that's the world we live in. Everything's an algorithm anymore. All right. So from myself, from Scott, from Kevin, from Andrew, thanks for checking us out, and we will see you next time.
See ya.